It wasn't Fred's first time seeing the inside of one of Elmwood's jails. The city had oppressively strict rules against skating in public areas, and it was a common gamble that the twins played to truly express their talent. Fred was supposed to spend the night in jail, and in the morning, at the leisure of the officers, he'd be released with a fine. He made the argument that he had actually been the victim, and the man had even chased him through the city. The police didn't seem to care. They booked him all the same. Now he was sitting in a communal cell, head lowered and whispering to himself. 1450 East Jameson Avenue. He repeated this over and over, trying to keep his voice to himself. There were a few people in the cell with him, mostly ignoring each other and hoping the time would pass quickly. Fred continued chanting the address, his head down and a storm of worries bombarding him. He felt the pull of guilt welling up in his back. He puffed up in frustration. He was supposed to relay those pages to his mentor. Missing them would cause trouble. He should have known that his brother and friends would be able to find where he hid the important papers. They combed the alley and quickly came to the spaced out letters, discarded in the trash. Jay even knew that there was a particular number of letters that they were supposed to have, and when they had the correct number, they quickly scattered into the night. Jay was at the head of the pack and blitzed towards the drop area. It was nestled in the projects of Lower Elm. The projects, Elm Rose housing, were constructed of several four-story apartments and a large courtyard and flower garden in the front. Jay pressed towards the courtyard, walking in between shadows to keep to the cover of darkness. He was taught that stealth and caution were powerful tools that could keep him alive. His eyes danced around to find any signs of movement or watching eyes. There were none. Jay crept up the steps and opened the only door that wasn't boarded. He looked over an overwhelming darkness that sat over the entrance to the housing. The obsidian sentinel welcomed the young man, and he was ushered in with open, cold arms. Third floor. A soft whisper haunted the ears of the young man and guided him to his delivery point. The shade that enveloped the stairs was thick, only being momentarily broken by blades of pale moonlight. As Jay arrived on the third floor, he was welcomed by a warm glow, coming from hundreds of candles lining the hallways and rooms. A soft hum reverberated through the halls and finished guiding the young man to the correct room. Inside of that room, the veil that had been watching Theory was dancing to his own music. Hades, Fred is in trouble. The specter continued to dance and seemed to be disconnected with the situation. Jay raised his hand with a book bag in it and threw it at Hades. The air around the veil filled with static and revealed Hades to be standing there with his hand outstretched to catch the bag. Hades' hands pulled the pages from the bag and slung them into the air. Each of them froze in place and were arranged in an order as he conducted them, making them into a series of symbols in large circles. Jay studied the movements of the man in black. He sought to learn something vital about his technique. From behind the tattered niqab, Hades' left eye glowed a soft amber, and his suit, a ninja-like outfit with brown straps around the body and chest, became obscured by paper. Each of the pages flattened in the air and fell like heavy rain to the ground. Hades' eyes lost all of their glow and the room felt dark. Jay blinked and lost sight of the man. There's always a moment, Hades' voice gently hit the boy's ears from behind. Jay turned around and there was nothing but the whisper of his mentor. Your brother will be home for breakfast. The jail was buzzing with soft chatter. Police kept to their paperwork or small talk at their desks. Fred listened to their voices and tried to figure out what kind of people he was surrounded by. The most immediate person warranting concern from the young man was a rather large guy in the cell with him. He'd been passing harsh looks and trying to bait Fred into a conversation. Fred ignored him and sought to move slowly to the other side of the cell. The hulking aggressor pursued slowly, trying not to move closer whenever Fred was looking. Outside of the jail, Hades found himself studying the buildings surrounding it, openings in the streets and alleyways and windows. He kept along the rooftops in a low stance, mimicking a large spider as he found an opening in a vent on the roof. His body folded and contorted in writhing patterns, slipping into spaces that most men his size could never even pass a breath through. A small vent allowed him entrance into an empty stall in a dark bathroom. From the darkness of the bathroom, his eye began to glow in amber sparks, and a large circle of the same color was traced at his feet. He pushed through the barrier with his arms parting a veil of smoke coming from the circle as if it were a cloth partition. The doors to each of the stalls rattled violently, and hundreds of ashen arms erupted from them. They jiggled at the stall doors, tearing them from the hinges, revealing a horde of demonic bodies that began to walk into the hall. Hades walked out of the bathroom, sauntering in the darkness as he caressed the walls before falling into them. Out of the still air, Hades began to sing. His voice was cold and sinister. He sang, and his song chilled the bones of the officers and the people imprisoned in the jail. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. I'm gonna find you. The people who heard the song were frozen in fear, and officers grabbed their guns. There was silence in the air now, and most of them could hear their own hearts beat out of their chests. Hades materialized behind Fred, his arms around the young man's shoulders as he moved his tattooed hands over his face. And take it slowly, he sang again. His hands covered the young man's eyes as demons tore through the floor and dragged several men and women into the darkness below. Their screams echoed through the room, decorated with shots from their guns. The wicked shall find their peers. Hades sharply turned his head to face the man who tormented Fred in the cell. The amber glow of his eyes reflected in the man's pupils. Show me what you fear, Hades whispered. He lunged forward, pushing the man's head into the bars, forcing his hand and entire arm down the man's throat. From the shadows of the man's scalp, tattooed fingers found their way to the bars on the other side, and the man's body fell limp. All of the people in the cell had been caught in Hades' gaze and tormented by visions of their own nightmares. Those terrors grew wings and sprang from their hosts, filling the cell with horrors. God knows your heart, but your mind is mine to delve. Hades chuckled and peered over Fred's shoulder. Let's find out who wanted to hurt my son. Hades then slipped his hand over Fred's chest and they both fell back into the shadows on the floor. Demonic arms seemed to erupt from the same shadows and push them down and out into some other space, leaving the horrors to act as judges over their birthers.